that, we're joined by Washington's Democrat Representative Susan DelBene. Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for joining us. We understand that Steve Scalise is announcing that they're canceling October district work. Is that what you're planning to do? Are you not going back to your home state? Will you be in D.C. for the rest of October because you are planning a long shutdown?
Well, first of all, we need to be here and make sure that we do everything possible to keep the government open. It's not shut down yet. It's terrible that House Republicans already are talking about how long a shutdown would be versus focused on doing everything possible to prevent a shutdown or to reopen the government as soon as possible. That's the #1 goal, and we should all be working hard to do that.
Well, that would take a miracle to prevent a shutdown, it looks like, at midnight tomorrow, and certainly more than an act of Congress, I guess, Congresswoman. But we're seeing members of the Freedom Caucus, in some cases who are blocking spending bills, raise money on a shutdown. I wonder your thoughts as chair of the DCCC, as the person tasked with getting Democrats elected in this next election, your thoughts on this, because the folks you're going to be running against are actually making money on what's happening right now.
Well, it's just heartbreaking that House Republicans are pushing us towards a shutdown and not understanding the incredible negative impact it has on families, on our communities, on our country. There's a lot of folks who talk about fiscal responsibility and how they're saving money. This is anything but fiscally responsible or does anything to save money. If anything, it costs us a lot more. We know the last 3 shutdowns cost us over $4 billion. And even the last shutdown alone reduced economic output by $11 billion, all for no reason at all.
Okay.
We can come
How concerned
together
are you, though, about the blame spreading to some of your frontline candidates when it comes to voting time next year?
I think, one, we have been very clear as House Democrats. We're at the table and have been at the table, frankly, with members of the Senate and the President. The President and Speaker McCarthy negotiated a deal. Speaker McCarthy went back on that deal. House Republicans are pushing us into the shutdown, and we are going to do everything we can to stand up for the American people, for families, for our communities, and do whatever we can to keep the government open. But the folks who control the House of Representatives right now are Republicans. Speaker McCarthy decides what goes on the floor. And if the Senate comes up with a bipartisan continuing resolution, I hope that the Speaker has the courage to put that bill on the floor and let us vote, because the only way that we move forward is in a bipartisan way, legislation that gets you the House and the Senate. We can do that, but there needs to be leadership, and there seems to be an incredible lack of leadership in House Republicans right now.
Well, Congresswoman, I want you to take a listen to what Arizona Republican and House Freedom Caucus member Eli Crane had to say today, weighing in on Speaker McCarthy's future.
The deal that was made so that he could be Speaker by 14 members, many of them were in the Freedom Caucus, that hasn't been honored. And there's members outside the Freedom Caucus saying the same thing. So what I think really happened was a bunch of promises were made so that he could become Speaker, and then that deal wasn't followed through on.
So how much longer does he have, sir?
Well,
before a potential motion to make?
We'll see. We'll see what happens. A lot of it hinges on whether or not he goes and makes deals with Democrats.
Congresswoman, do you think McCarthy will come potentially crawling to Hakeem Jeffries to make a deal? And also, if that does happen, will Democrats help him retain his speakership? Not voting for him, but maybe voting present or leaving the room so he has a slimmer margin to clear.
Well, let's be clear. If we're going to pass a deal, which needs to happen, it's going to be bipartisan. It has to go through the House and the Senate and get to the president's desk. That's the only way we solve this. And if we're going to do that, that means leadership has to come forward and make sure that we have bipartisan legislation. Kevin McCarthy needs to put the country first, put the American people first, and make sure that that's his top priority. It's really heartbreaking to hear the ongoing kind of politics that Republicans put out there. That's their priority. Our priority is putting people first, and that absolutely is why we're here. That needs to be the priority. If House Republicans would do that, maybe we'd be in a different place. Unfortunately, they are chaos and dysfunction and have been since the beginning of this Congress.